everyone. This is PM Sports Talk, the father and son duo podcast. I'm your host, Preston, alongside my father, Mike, and Dad. How are we doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great. Wasn't a great day yesterday for us Steelers fans, but there's a lot to get into with the NFL. Let's go.
Well, we do not have any college football this week. The Army-Navy game was this weekend. It was a blowout. Not very Army-Navy-like, I guess you could say. But with that being said, college football playoff starts this week, and very excited about that. But I want to talk about something we haven't talked about yet, and that is the NBA. We are about a month or two into the season, and on Tuesday, it will be the final game of the second in-season tournament since they brought that idea to the NBA. And Dad, my question for you is, what do you think about this? There's a lot of mixed opinions about this. Some people like it, some people don't.
I've got to be honest with you. Last year, I was a little bit into it. I think just because it was something new. It spiced up the regular season a little bit, Usually that first couple months, I hardly pay attention. I look to see who's doing good and who's not, but I really don't watch any games. But last year I find myself watching a few games because of that tournament. I gotta be honest with you, this year, I don't think I've watched one, and I have no interest in watching any of them.
Yeah.
I just cannot get into it yet. I don't know if it's because college football and the NFL there's just so much this year, it seems like. There's games almost every night.
Yeah.
Or if it's just a lack of interest in the NBA. I'm not positive. But I cannot find myself getting into it at all.
Yeah, I like the idea. I see where Silver was coming from. They got to get that viewership up somehow, and this was just an idea to get it up. Last year it worked really well. I was really into it, actually. I enjoyed watching the Final Four, I guess you could call it, of the NBA.
Yeah, I watched a little bit too, yeah.
But this year, I just don't like how it's set up. Like, they had the Final Four games, or the two semifinal games that were in Vegas. They had them on Saturday. And then they have the final game on a Tuesday, which I'm not the biggest fan of, because last year, if I'm not mistaken, the Lakers and Pacers final game was on a weekend, and that was a lot better, in my opinion.
I feel like it was on a Saturday or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I don't know if that's because of the college football playoffs. That could be messing with it.
I think so. I think that's probably it. So the semifinals have already happened.
Yeah.
That goes to show you how much I pay attention. I had no idea.
Yeah.
And I am always on top of every sport. And
finals is Bucks and Thunder, which
that could be part of it right there, because it's just Bucks and Thunder, right? Last year was Lakers and LeBron, so I think there's a better chance of people following it.
Yeah, I liked it last year, like we brought up. It was the first thing, so you got to give it a try. You got to watch it, see if it's going to make any changes. But with that being said, this thing I think was taken a little too far by the Lakers organization by hanging up an in-season tournament championship as a banner. I don't think the players like that either, especially LeBron. He didn't really pay no mind to it. Probably thought it was stupid, just by his body reaction when both pregame, the game after they won it, they were hanging it up, and he was just like, whatever. I'm not trying to win this. I'm trying to win a championship. So
yeah, it's like I said, I get them why they're doing it, but I guess we'd have to look and see if their viewership has gone up with this tournament.
I bet it has.
It probably has a little, but
not. I mean, last year probably was a big change, but this year I don't know. I don't know if I can say the same thing.
I think you're going to get the NBA fans that always watching it, but the sport fan that doesn't pay that much attention to the NBA until after football is done probably still isn't paying that much attention to it.
Yeah.
Like me, I consider myself a really good sports fan, like probably too much of a sports fan. But
yeah.
I just cannot. I've watched more college basketball than I have NBA.
Oh yeah, it's the same.
And that's hasn't been that exciting yet either. I mean, that's just, these preseason tournaments.
Pretty much, yeah.
So, yeah, just not feeling the NBA. Just, to me, the NBA season just doesn't start till like February because there's just too much now. And it's like you said, it's going to be even worse now with the college football playoffs. Because that's, before college football, you would have that long lull between the, you'd have the Army-Navy game, but you'd have that long lull with all the good teams the week before, like 2 weeks ago. They wouldn't play again until New Year's.
It would actually work if it was still the 4-team format, but now that college football is up to 12, not sure if it's going to work too much. You might got to, maybe explore putting that game on a Friday maybe or something like that, that final game.
Yeah, even this year that wouldn't work because...
Yeah, but you got Indiana, Notre Dame.
You got college football on Friday night, Saturday, all day Saturday. You got NFL on Saturday.
Saturday, Sunday. And then you got on Christmas. Oh, my goodness.
You got NFL football Monday. Lot. Then you got Christmas Day. Then you got the day after Christmas, Thursday night. The NFL and college from now until after the holiday, till sometime in January, is going to be every night, almost. And the NBA is going to have Tuesday and Wednesday. I mean, that's it. Really, if you think about it, those are the only nights where they can say, this is our night right now.
Yeah.
So, and for big-time sports guys that are watching football nonstop, those are the 2 nights where you probably don't really want to watch sports, kind of.
Yeah.
Or you do other things, So, yes, sometimes I'll put it on in the background, but I won't be paying that much attention to it. So, yeah, I don't know what the NBA can do, really. I just don't. And it's only college football is probably going to keep adding more teams to this playoff as we go each year. They're going to add more than they have this year. They're probably going to go to 14 or 16.
Yeah.
So you're going to have more games. So the NBA, I think you just pretty much got to say to yourself, listen, we're not going to get good ratings. We're not going to get a ton of viewership until football's over, and that's just how it's going to be.
Yeah. They still rack in a ton of viewers, but, football in America is the biggest sport to almost every sports fan. So there's that. We move now into the NFL, and this is probably going to be majority of the episode as we have a bunch of good games over the weekend. Let's start off with the 4 o'clock games because those were what everyone was looking forward to. We'll start off with the less exciting one, Steelers and Eagles.
Yeah, it was supposed to be exciting. Didn't turn out that way. The Eagles, started out with the ball, or Pittsburgh started out with the ball, couldn't do anything. The Eagles get the ball, get a touchdown. They actually go up to 17-3. Then Pittsburgh starts to kind of, for a little while there, I don't want to say take over the game, but they were starting to they got to 17-13. They were looking really good, go to halftime, and the Eagles come out and they get a long drive, but Steelers hold them to a field goal. So you're like, hey, it's 20-13. Steelers are right in this. They're starting to play better.
Yeah.
They're moving the ball, get down to the 25, I think it was, something like that, on Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And one of those pitch plays that they seem to have fallen in love with lately.
Doesn't work like always.
Doesn't ever works to Najee Harris.
And this time they turned the ball over because Najee did not catch the pitch. And I don't think it was supposed to be that play because Russ seemed to audible to that.
He did.
And then when Najee got the toss, he couldn't handle it, and the Eagles took over, and that right there was the ball game.
Changed the whole ball game. If you watch the replay, he takes his eye off the ball. He's looking to see where the hole is going to be. That's why I hate that pitch play. Not only does the running back have to catch the ball, he's trying to look to see where he's going to go.
Yeah.
Where it's a handoff, he doesn't have to worry about that because the quarterback puts it right in there.
It's not about because And it's not like it's just normal receiving play. If you drop that ball, that's a live ball.
Yeah,
and anyone can get it.
Right, yeah. It's not like it's like you said, a catch out of the backfield.
Like if you drop a pass, then it's probably just going to fall incomplete, not with a pitch play. So that's why it's very risky to run those plays, and the Steelers love them for some weird reason.
And they don't ever work. They never get a lot of yards on them. They'll run about 7 or 8 of those a game, and maybe one will work.
Yeah, it's not.
I don't understand.
I don't understand why they keep going with it. It's like almost every offensive coordinator we have loves that play.
It's doesn't work. I don't know what evidence they have that shows it works.
No, it doesn't work. I mean, it's just ridiculous how they think it does. And if you watch like every other Steelers fan reacting to any game and they run that pitch play, they don't even pay attention to the play. They're like, oh my gosh, why are we running this pitch play? It never works.
That's a play maybe you could run once or twice a game to maybe catch the defense off guard.
Honestly,
that's it.
I see a toss play as like when you're like at the goal line, but you're not like at the one. You're like first and goal, say, but like you're midway, like maybe like the 5 or the 6. You run a toss then. But I don't see, because the Steelers love to run a toss in like midfield in their own territory, and that's just the dumbest thing ever. It doesn't really work for any team, if we're being honest.
It doesn't work for them. I know that for whatever reason, and I hope I see it go away, but I know I won't.
Mm-hmm.
They're just going to say it wasn't executed right. That's what they're going to say. Well, if it's not getting executed right, then stop using it. I mean,
and that's like every time it doesn't get executed right, so why you keep running it? But
like you said, that changed the whole game. Who knows? Even if they don't score a touchdown there, they're going to get at least a field goal. So now it's 20-16. You don't feel quite so bad, and the Eagles don't have that momentum of the turnover.
Mm-hmm.
And not saying they would have won, but that game could have been a totally different game. Could have been a close game right down to the end. It's not like the Eagles pulled way away. They only won by 14.
Mm-hmm.
But the Eagles were a better team. They probably were going to win the game anyway, but that changed the whole game. And luckily for us, they still clinched a playoff berth because Colts lost. So
at least we got a positive from yesterday, but I don't want to focus all on the Steelers. This Eagles team is really good. But the Lions going down with all of these injuries, they're probably my new favorite to come out of the NFC.
From what I've seen yesterday, the Eagles will be my favorite. Absolutely.
They are just, I don't know what they have, but like ever since they got Saquon, that seems to be their difference. And I think that could be their difference to finally getting back to that Super Bowl. And man, I know this team is destined to get back there after how the last time they were in the Super Bowl, how that game ended with the game-losing holding call. And yeah, this team is looking really good this year, the Eagles. I want to say there is some things that can be cleaned up with the Eagles, though. I mean, I saw this clip earlier from that game, the Steelers-Eagles game. If you were watching that, Corliss Waitman during his punt, Connor Hayward was blocking, and Jalen Carter throws a little bit of a smack at Connor Hayward's helmet, and the refs, they originally say it's going to be a 15-yard penalty, personal foul, and it's a first down for the Steelers. But instead, they got together, looked at it, and they determined that for whatever reason, this is a rule, Jalen Carter hit Connor Hayward after the ball was punted. So that right there saved the Eagles from giving us a first down. I don't know how that's written in the rule book, but that's what happened.
Yeah, once the kick's in the air, but I was watching the replay on that, and it almost seemed like simultaneously that he kicked it and that penalty happened, but obviously they determined it wasn't the case. It was after the punt. So because what's his name there, the ref, Alan Heck, who I don't ever want to ever see again, because that whole crew, that might be my new favorite worst refereeing crew. It used to be
they got everything bad.
They were horrible. And you know what? I saw a little article before the game online, like Friday. I think I was looking online, sports, and there was a little blurb that said the Steelers something, I don't know how it was worded, I forget now, but something about Alan Heck is refereeing the Steelers game. That could be the Steelers' downfall, something like that. So it was like this guy is notorious for not having bad referee games, and it was too. Yeah. That's not why they lost, but
oh my goodness. And that was not the only punching thing with Jalen Carter. Darnell Washington blocks Darius Slay all the way to the crowd, pretty much. Kind of like if you watch The Blind Side, it's kind of like that play. And you see Darius Slay, Darnell still had him by the shoulder pads, and Darius Slay was trying to get free, so he threw a couple punches at Washington's helmet. That started a whole fight or a brawl. Not a brawl, but like a mix-up, I guess you could say. And the refs get together. 2 penalties are called on Pittsburgh. 0 are called on Philadelphia. Someone explain that to me, please. I don't know how you can.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Quinyon Mitchell came in and he threw a punch. And he did not get a penalty, but like you said, the 2 Steelers, Washington got a penalty, and then I
think it was Hayward.
No, it was 19. Calvin Austin. He got one too. All he did was go in there and kind of push and shove a little bit. But Quinyon Mitchell threw a punch and he didn't get anything.
So did Darius Slay.
So did Darius Slay. So it should have, if you want to call one on Darnell Washington for taking the play too far, okay. And then call one on the Eagles for a punch, offsetting, let's go. Instead, we get...
I'll say this. If George Pickens was in that spot, that penalty would be on the ground in no time.
Oh, my God.
Dude, this is like... That was one of the worst officiated games I've watched, and I'm not exaggerating. I'm not saying that's the reason we lost whatsoever, but that was some terrible officiating. I don't think I've ever seen... I've seen bad, and that one is definitely up there.
Yeah, it was not good. Even the announcers were like... They asked Dean Blandino. He's like, well, this will be offsetting penalties, and we'll go. And then they call them both on the Steelers, and they're like, yeah, we did not see it. Dean's like, I don't see it that way at all, but okay.
Dean said that?
Yeah. So
that was some bad. When is the NFL going to start investigating some of these refs? These are like this is like an ongoing thing, and these guys don't get like anything talked to.
Well, they supposedly get graded, but it doesn't affect them in the regular season. They get graded on their performances and whether they miss calls or call calls that aren't supposed to be called or whatever. And then come playoff time, the best graded refs are supposed to be the ones that make it through to the playoffs. But the regular season, it doesn't help anything because it's those refs all still ref in the regular season.
Yeah.
I don't know if it affects their pay or not. I have no idea. I don't know, but...
I want to say one thing. After that Jalen Carter smack, though, that guy is so uncoachable.
He was on
the sideline. Nick Sirianni was trying to, I guess, like discipline him and tell him like, hey, we don't do that. And he was just shaking his head, laughing and waving him off. And I don't know if that tells more about Jalen Carter, how he does this behavior regularly, or if the players. I bet any other player would listen to Sirianni in that situation. I think Carter is just very uncoachable, and he's got such a bad attitude.
He does have a bad attitude. He's been called. He was in that. I hate to break it up, but he was in that.
The wreck
there when he was at Georgia.
Killed his teammate.
His teammates. I mean, he got nothing out of that. He got to go to the NFL. I mean,
how did that? I don't even want to like get into controversy, but like, how in the world does that not affect his draft stock?
I think he did drop a little bit, didn't he? But
he was projected to be a top first-round pick, and he still went in the first round. Like, and it wasn't that late either.
He was expected to be like the top number 1 or 2, and he went like 10 or 12.
They look at this is what NFL GMs like to look at the talent, and some of them just don't see what could be a problem. And I think the Eagles are finally getting that side of Jalen Carter. He's a great player. He saw it at Georgia. He's a great player. He just has a very bad attitude.
Super bad attitude. You could see the defensive line coach was in between Sirianni and Carter there.
So was their big Dom security.
It's like, I mean, could you imagine if he was on the Steelers and Mike Tomlin went over there and he'd laughed at his face? Do you imagine what would happen?
Yeah.
See you, buddy. You're going to be cut. I don't care how good you are.
That behavior does not fly with many coaches, and he's lucky that Sirianni even is still giving him a chance to play.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, but.
Yeah, but this Eagles team, I don't want to say too much bad stuff about them, look biased. They are a really good team, and this team, don't be shocked if you see them in New Orleans in a pretty easy fashion.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, they're gonna be there. Well, I shouldn't say that. They'd be my favorite to get there out of the NFC right now, but a lot can happen. But as of right now, they look like the most complete team.
Yeah. All right, our next game here is the Buffalo Bills and the Detroit Lions, and this one was expected to be good, and this one was actually a very good game.
Yeah, I didn't, I was paying attention to this game, but, of course, I was trying to spend most of my time on the Steelers game, and I flipped back to this one, and, the Bills got out to such a fast start, got up 14-0, and the Lions had to fight the whole game to try to get back close, and they just were never able to get quite back there. And then, of course, like almost every game lately for Detroit, a string of injuries. And this time, man, I don't know. I think it's too many for them to overcome. And wow, I mean,
some breaking news from that game as well. David Montgomery was announced out for the season this game or today after that game with he's going under surgery that will end his season on his knee.
He's out for the season. Their number one defensive tackle,
Lee McNeil's out
for the season.
Carlton Davis might be out for the season after that one.
Another corner got injured. I don't know if he's out for the season, but he's out for a few games. They're like, I don't know if they have more than a couple starters left on defense.
Yeah.
I mean, that whole team is going to be like third and fourth stringers playing defense. Yeah. And this team, I think, was when they were healthy, they were the best team in the NFL, and they would be my favorite. But I can't say that anymore. I mean, I just don't know how they're going to stop anybody with that defense. They're going to have to outscore people.
They're good at scoring, but eventually it's going to catch up to them, I think.
They have to win out to get that number one seed. If Philadelphia wins out, they have to win out.
Yeah.
And they'll get the number one seed, Detroit. So that gives them a chance because those games will be in Detroit and fast carpet. Maybe they can just outscore everybody.
Yeah.
But if they don't get the one seed and they have to go to Philadelphia, they are not going to go there and beat them. Even if they had their full defense, that'd be hard. They're not going to do it with that defense. So,
well, we'll keep talking about the Bills Detroit game, but we're going to get up here what the playoff picture is looking like right now because, Dad, it's crazy to think about, but we are approaching that time. But, yeah, the Lions, like we said, they are hurt really bad, and these injuries are just probably going to catch up to them in no time. But with the Bills, man, they are looking phenomenal. Everyone was like, oh, well, now Josh Allen doesn't have anyone to throw the ball to. This division belongs to the Dolphins. This division belongs to the Jets. Well, the Bills clinched the division 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. They clinched the division in Week 13. And the Bills are now looking like probably, even though the Chiefs are 13-1, the team to beat in the AFC.
As of right now, they are. You can never count out the Chiefs, but another thing happened yesterday. Mahomes got hurt, and it's an ankle sprain, high ankle sprain. They say it's a mild sprain, but those things don't usually heal very well if you keep playing.
You just look at Justin Herbert. He got injured his ankle, I think, against the Steelers or against someone, and he is still dealing with that injury late in the season. Like, you can see it still bothering him here and there. And that injury, I mean, Mahomes had an injury like that a couple playoffs ago. But, Yeah, it is a tough injury to play through, but obviously he's going to play through it. It makes you wonder though, who the Chiefs got, who do they have this week?
Chiefs have this week they have Houston.
That's a big game. I was going to bring up maybe you think about giving Mahomes a rest if you're playing like not so good on the record team, but I think you got to play him against a team like Houston. They're winning their division and they're probably they're going to win that division.
They already have, yeah.
Oh yeah. And yeah, that division's pretty easy to win for them, but nonetheless, Houston's a great team. As much as C.J. Stroud's going through a sophomore slump, that defense is really good this year.
They're really good. If I was the Chiefs, let's see, they're 13-1. Mm-hmm. Bills are 11-3.
Right.
They have to finish one game better than Buffalo to get the 1 seed because Buffalo beat them.
Mm-hmm.
Buffalo's going to win out because they played nobody the rest of the way.
Mm-hmm.
So the Bills are going to be 14-3. So the Chiefs have to win 2 out of their last 3 games to get the 1 seed. They play Houston, good. They play Pittsburgh, good. They play, I think, Denver, their last game. Denver
was a field goal away from beating them.
Denver might need that game to get in. Not sure. They might not, but
I think the Broncos will get in. They have like a really high chance to make playoffs right now.
So the Denver might not need that game, so that could be an easy win for the Chiefs if the Chiefs want to win that game. Denver might rest their players because it means nothing to them.
Yeah,
because they're stuck where they're going to be stuck at probably the 6th seed.
It doesn't really, at this point, the seeding for them, they're not going to win their division. So the seeding for them is just going to determine where they play and who they play.
So if I'm Kansas City, I don't play him this weekend.
No.
I rest him.
And plus, you got a short week. You got to mention that, yeah.
And then I play him at Pittsburgh and then at Denver if you need to.
Chiefs backup, who's that? Carson Wentz?
Carson Wentz. Because if you play him this weekend and he's not right and you lose, then you got to play him against Pittsburgh and he's not going to have any rest.
No.
So you could lose both those games because he's not healthy. So if you sacrifice this weekend's game to get him healthy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I would do. But
I don't think they're going to do that, but that is a good point.
He won't do that.
No.
He's going to want to play, and they're not going to tell him he can't. So, yeah. But if he's only playing half 50% or something, they haven't been very good this year with him 100%.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously they've won, but they could have lost 5 games.
Yeah, they could have lost a lot of games that they
Even
won.
Yesterday's game, they didn't play that good.
No.
They won by 2 touchdowns.
Jameis Winston,
he was Jameis Winston.
Yeah. Jameis Winston, he's a weird guy to figure out. He's maybe he'll have games where he throws 5 touchdowns and 4 pick sixes. So it's.
I watched a little bit of that game yesterday, and I just oh my! They pulled him because they're like, dude, we just can't.
Yeah.
You're just throwing it up for grabs.
It's unfortunate because
DTR didn't do any better, but
yeah. Jameis is I don't know. Something about him though. You can tell that he's trying to bring life back into that team. He tries.
That's just the way he plays.
Maybe he'd be I'd say the Browns keep him as a backup because although he's not playing great, he's a good locker room guy.
Yeah. He's interesting. He's fun to watch because you just never know what's going to happen. But yeah. Anyway, but yeah. So it's interesting to see number 1 seed.
Number 1 seed's going to come down to the wire, yeah. And then in the NFC, you're probably going to see that, but a one-on-one match between the Eagles and Lions.
I mean,
who else is winning their division? The NFC West is no chance. Who else do we got? The NFC East? No, that's the Eagles. West, East, South.
These divisions, the playoffs are almost all set.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it goes right down to the wire, but there's hardly Pittsburgh's in, Kansas City, Buffalo's in, Houston's clinched. That's 4 teams that are already clinched.
I think this is a must-win for the Steelers this weekend, though. Even though you already won, or clinch playoffs, you need to beat the Ravens this weekend.
If Pittsburgh wins, they clinch the division.
Yeah.
They can still win the division if they lose, but it'd be harder.
That's at the that's in Baltimore as well.
Yeah. I mean, if Pittsburgh loses this game and then wins the last two, I think they still win it.
Have you seen that after the Eagles game, people are calling for Justin Fields to take back the starting role?
I have not seen
Rex. No, he's a knucklehead. Rex Ryan's one of them. But I've seen a bunch of people saying that Justin Fields should be taking this team back over. And I'm like, it's one game, and it didn't go our way. Let's just keep going with Russ, and if the time comes, injury or whatever, Fields will go back in. But
no George Pickens.
Eagles
defense.
I love how people like overlook our injuries. Like, I mean, I'm not saying, like I said, I'm not the type of guy to make excuses. We lost, but there's a lot of guys that could have made a difference in that game. George Pickens, Deshaun Elliott. There's one other guy. Who was it?
Who else was out? Larry Ogunjobi was out.
There's one guy ruled out before.
On defense or offense?
I don't remember. I think it was defense.
Dante actually got hurt in the game, so he was out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
a lot of injuries to overcome. Eagles outplayed them though with their team that was healthy. So
the Eagles defense last, I don't know how many games, it's a lot. I think since they're on a 10-game win streak right now. They've only given up an average of 14 points a game.
Let me be honest here. Their cornerback, Quinyon Mitchell, we brought him up earlier, but I think he has a chance to be a top 5 cornerback in this league in the future. He has been playing really good this year.
Yeah, he's really good.
They seem to add star after star, and they get him. They don't usually get him in free agency. Like, their free agency signings usually are worse than their draft with their defensive players.
Their draft has been really. I mean, that's line is loaded with number 1 draft picks.
Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith as well. I mean, he doesn't play much, but he's
got the whole Georgia defensive line there.
Pretty much.
And that team, that team is just loaded with Georgia players.
Yeah.
Nakobe Dean, Georgia.
Yeah.
Man, yeah.
That defense really is the Georgia.
And they're young. They're young. Other than a couple guys, they're young. And which is really weird that they were really bad on defense last year.
Isn't it weird how now you think about it, you look at the offensive side, their team is like mostly SEC players. A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith.
Georgia and Alabama players.
Yeah. And then you got Ole Miss for A.J., but...
Yeah. Crazy, but they're really good. And
they really like to build their young guys quickly, and it works. It's been working for like years for them. So they've been very successful with that strategy, and their team is looking really good right now. But right now, I want to take a deeper look into the NFL playoff picture right now. As of what week is it? 15.
Yes.
Okay, we'll take a look at the Week 15 standings after Sunday games yesterday. And you take a look at the AFC. The Chiefs hold that number 1 seed. The Bills are right behind them at number 2. Steelers still at number 3. Texans at 4. And then you go to the wild card below that. And in the hunt, Ravens, Broncos, Chargers. That's your wild card right now.
Yeah, as of right now, those teams are in. And
that's a pretty good wild card.
The only team that might not make it would be the Chargers. I mean, and even they're probably...
Look at those probabilities.
Yeah, you could say that the AFC playoffs is all set.
Mm-hmm.
Then you look... I mean, I don't see anything changing.
And then take a look at the divisions in the NFC. You got the Lions, Eagles, Vikings, and Buccaneers. Those are your division leaders. Look at the wild card. Isn't that weird? The Packers at 10-4 are your top wild card team right now. And they got the Commanders at 9-5 as well. This NFC playoff is looking pretty good. Rams take over that division after the win against San Fran. And yeah, it's going to come down to, in that NFC West division, it's going to come down to who wins that division.
That big injury yesterday with Geno Smith.
It looks like the Rams are going to, well, Cardinals are still in it.
Big game. Is that this week, Rams and Cardinals? Or is that a couple weeks from now? But
if it's this week, then that game determines who's going to be the number 1 seed, like as of right now, correct? Because Cardinals and Rams, I think the Cardinals already have a head-to-head win against the Rams, if I'm not mistaken.
They do, so that is a big game. I'm not sure if it's this week or next week, but that is a huge game. And, the top of that NFC is interesting, too, because all three of those teams, look at the Lions, Eagles, and Vikings. Those teams could all be like...
I didn't realize the Vikings had 2 losses.
The Vikings can still win the division and the 1 seed.
Yeah, we did kind of overlook them. They can still snatch that 1 seed.
Yeah, so the Lions could finish as high as 1 or as low as 5. And the Eagles are going to be locked in at 2. But
3 NFC North teams right now are in the playoff picture.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Lions, Vikings, Packers. Wow.
There's a lot more as far as seeding going on in the NFC. The AFC, other than the Bills and the Chiefs,
that's locked up.
There's, as far as who's the 1 seed, that's about it. But the NFC, a lot could happen because those Lions and Vikings play each other. I think the Vikings have the tiebreaker over the Eagles. So there's a lot of things going on there. So who knows who's going to get the 1 seed there.
Well, our first play of the week comes from Colts and Broncos. Consider this a play of the week for the Broncos as Jonathan Taylor is loose, and it looks like he will score a touchdown, and he does at the moment. But hold on, folks. This play will further go to review. You look at it at a first glance and you say, wow, what a big run for Taylor, and the Colts are now up big. But, Dad, this is what went wrong, and it was a boneheaded mistake.
Yeah, watch closely when he gets to the goal line.
Watch the ball. He dropped it before, and it goes out of the end zone, so it goes as a touchback.
That changed that whole game from being 20-7 to now 13-7 going the other way. Look at that. Drops it. That play right there cost that team the playoffs this year because their next 3 games are cakewalks, and they were going to finish 10-7 ahead of the Broncos. Now they're not, and they're going to be out.
Second play of the week coming from Ravens and Giants, the largest spread of points in the NFL's history. Lamar looking to take a deep shot, wide open. Rashad Bateman makes a move, makes another move, and Rashad Bateman is in. Touchdown, Baltimore.
Man, that Giant defense is just horrible.
Panthers and Cowboys. Panthers down 10-0 heading to halftime. Jalen Coker is wide open, and with 30 seconds in the first half, an 80-plus yard touchdown gets the Panthers on the board. Jets and Jaguars. Rodgers lets one go, and wide open, Devontae Adams over the seam route, and he will score, and the Jets have the lead.
Where's this been all season?
Exactly. Coming from Lions and Bills. It is Goff faking the handoff, and it's the big man, Dan Skipper. He was eligible this time, and he's got a touchdown.
Finally gets his touchdown.
Wow.
That was one of the few bright spots from yesterday.
23-13. The Packers looking to put this one to bed. Seahawks making a late comeback. Love to the end zone. Dobbs scoops it off the ground for 6. Touchdown, Green Bay.
What a play. I didn't think he could catch that.
Romeo Dobbs with a great game. Look at this replay. Boom. And he keeps the feet. Well, he keeps that 1 foot in, and then his body is in. That's a touchdown, and that is a Green Bay win. Well, Dad, that is the end of today's podcast, but we have 2 things before we end this podcast. First of all, who was your biggest performer and your biggest disappointment this week?
Well, I went back and forth on my biggest disappointment, but I'm gonna go with Tua Tagovailoa. He threw not 1, not 2, 3 interceptions in crucial points of their game, a very close game against the Houston Texans, a game they lost, which pretty much ends their playoff chances. They're still mathematically alive, but unlikely. And he's my disappointment this week. And my top performer this week, another one I was kind of wrestling with. I hate to do it, but I'm going to go with the Eagles defense against the Steelers. They pretty much dominated that game, shut them right down, and got to give it to them. They were my performers of the week.
So I guess I'll do two for each. I cannot decide on either one, but for my biggest disappointments this week, I am definitely going to have to go with Jonathan Taylor. He fumbles out of the end zone very carelessly, and like you said in that play of the week clip, the Colts were going to make the playoffs if they won that game and won out. They had a cakewalk of a schedule, would have finished 10-7, would have been ahead of the Broncos, and now you got none of that because Jonathan Taylor fumbled out of the end zone for a celebration too early. And my second one is definitely going to have to be the Seattle Seahawks on Sunday Night Football. You had the 12th man behind you, and you absolutely stood no chance against the Packers.
Laid an egg, big time.
And I'm going to do two players from the same game. The first one is going to be Josh Allen. He locked up that MVP award yesterday. Lamar Jackson had a great game. He's his only competition right now. And the odds for Allen to win MVP went skyrocketing up. If that tells you that he's going to win MVP, that should tell you that he's going to win MVP. If it doesn't, then I don't know what to tell you. The second one, even though it was a loss and a losing effort, Amon-Ra St. Brown, 14 receptions, 100, almost 200 yards receiving. I think 193 exactly in a touchdown. He played one of his best games yesterday, and unfortunately, it was a losing effort.
Just to finish up on that, you could have picked your top performers from that game and your most disappointments. Both defenses and your top performers could have been from that game. Jared Goff, Amon-Ra, Josh Allen, they all had phenomenal games.
Defense, man.
But defense was so bad. But yeah, great picks.
And then finally, let's pick a prediction. What do we got this week?
Well, the best NFL games are on Saturday this week. All the good NFL games are early. Chargers, Broncos on Thursday night. And then the two Saturday games, Houston, Kansas City, and Pittsburgh, Baltimore. So we got to pick. I mean, we know who we're picking, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, right?
Let's do Houston. Let's do the Houston game.
I'm going to pick Houston. I don't know what they're going to do with Mahomes, so I'm going to go Houston and probably a nail biter.
Give me Houston. That defense is amazing. It's one of the more underrated defenses in the league, and I think that they have what it takes, especially with Mahomes not being at 100% now.
And we probably should pick. Let's pick the best, or pick a couple of the college games.
I think we got to do Ohio State, Tennessee.
That's probably the closest game.
And then, what other one should we do? We should do one more.
Well, let's do that one first. We'll do, I've got Tennessee in that one, and I'm going to say a 3-point game, like 30-27, something like that.
Give me Ohio State. I mean, I'm obviously going to pick them, but this is going to be a very close game. Kind of nervous, but I'm kind of excited to see what both teams bring.
Yeah, and then there's the other interesting game, Notre Dame and Indiana, I think, is an interesting game because I think most people are going to pick Notre Dame because they've looked really good the last 5 weeks or so. But I think Indiana has got something to prove. They want to prove that they're not a fluke. I think that's a sneaky, close game. I say Notre Dame wins it, but I say that comes down to the end.
I'm taking Notre Dame, but I like your point. I think Indiana will put up a fight. It'll be a better game than what most people think. People look at them as fraudulent, and that definitely is going to have to be something to prove, especially after they lost to Ohio State. They have that, okay, we got that first loss. We're humbled now.
they got something to prove. They don't want to go out like that. So
yeah. So I think Notre Dame is going to take this one, and yeah, it's going to be their run game. Jeremiah Love is so good.
I'm really interested to see how these crowds are in these games. Are they going to be crazy? Because a lot of these college students have gone home for Christmas break.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really curious. Are these stadiums going to be raucous like they are during the regular season? I'm really curious. I hope they are, but
we'll see.
What a weekend of sports coming up.
Oh
wow.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. Well, with that being said, this was the PM Sport Talk podcast for today. I am Preston once again with my father Mike, and we will see you guys on the next episode.